After spending 4 years in Singapore, he found using plastic was quite convenient. You don't have to worry about handling all that cash, carrying it around, getting change. And as we talked, I posed to my new friend, well, isn't it interesting? You see, given that in your country, in Japan, fewer people are using credit cards to pay for things, wouldn't it mean that fewer people have credit card debt? And he conceded that this was true. And I said, my friend, you do realize that the United States, one of the richest countries in the world, has trillions of dollars in debt. I'm the Lovely Ray, and I'm delighted to spend a little time with you today. I was born and raised in the U.S., but over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough to spend some time chatting online with people from all over the world, thanks to a little website called Cambly. I don't have any strong opinions about the Cambly English learning platform, but my conversations with folks from other countries has left me with a lot to think about. So, in this podcast, I thought I'd share a little with you and maybe we can keep the conversation going. Warning, this podcast is about stripping down and having real conversations. So, if you're looking for someone to dress things up, well, as the old saying goes, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. I save my lipstick for the stage, dearest, and dressing up for the bedroom. I do not dress up my conversations with friends. So, I'd love to have a chat. Hello, darlings. I'm delighted to chat with you today. You see, I had the most titillating conversation earlier with a gentleman from Japan. He was quite the world traveler. He'd been to more than 10 countries, and given that I myself am currently limited in my ability to use my passport, I was greatly intrigued by his adventures. Now, why does this interest you? Well, we got to talking about a little difference between Japan, Singapore, and the United States. You see, my new gentleman friend informed me that in Japan, currency payment for things tends to be via cash, primarily. And that it is quite uncommon, or at least less common than it is in, say, Singapore or the US, to use a credit card to make a payment. And he found this to be a negative because after spending 4 years in Singapore, he found using plastic was quite convenient. You don't have to worry about handling all that cash, carrying it around, getting change. And as we talked, I posed to my new friend, well, isn't it interesting? You see, given that in your country, in Japan, fewer people are using credit cards to pay for things, wouldn't it mean that fewer people have credit card debt? And he conceded that this was true. And I said, my friend, you do realize that the United States, one of the richest countries in the world, has trillions of dollars in debt. And that the average American household does carry debt. In fact, the U.S. has been speeding towards requiring the tapping of a smartphone, a palm, a watch to make purchases, the tapping of a card. And as we're all tapping away, we seem to lose sight of a few basic things. Yes, tapping is convenient. I love being able to leave the home with simply a smartphone on me. However, I'm not gonna lie, I'd feel naked without one. And I don't mind not carrying cash. After all, in New York City, if someone asks for some money, I can honestly say I don't have any cash on me. Now, this does feel a little frustrating when I hear an artist playing music in the subway, and I want to show my love by sharing with them some of my green. However, most artists in New York City now have little boards with their Venmo information. So even the artists have gotten smart about getting around this whole carry cash thing. Now, even as I bring this up, I find myself questioning how many of those artists are reporting their earnings from tips to the government. Because if one is making over $600 in the United States, then this is considered income that must be reported to the Internal Revenue Service. And so if you're an artist who formerly did not report your tips, and you are now accepting electronic payments, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, well, by law, these platforms are required to report over a certain amount of money to the federal government. Now, I think the amount that they have to report is $20,000, if I recall correctly. So, to be fair, if you find yourself making that kind of money as an artist, then maybe it is worthwhile for you to report it. But if these platforms have to report a much lower amount, then technically that artist is now paying taxes on tips that they normally would not have. But that is neither here nor there, darling, because what I really want to talk about is your electronic payments and mine. Yeah, so I don't know about you, but when I tap or swipe, I find it just a wee bit more comfortable. Yes, my friend from Japan mentioned convenience, but I said to him, baby, how about comfort? Because you see, when you have to dig into your pocket, pull out that cash, and maybe that cash feels a little rough. Maybe those dollars are smooth, but they're sticking together. Maybe you've got change jiggling in your pocket and it feels a little crumbly or sticky. Well, all of those touches, those transactions, your hand to cash, these things, my lovelies, they create feelings. And there is a feeling of pain when parting with money that you can see, that you can feel, that you can smell. Yeah. But when you tap, when you swipe, when you wave your palm, it's less painful. It feels easy, and easy feels rewarding. You can go on about your day and not worry anymore about that money. And I do have to confess that when I type, when I swipe, I may do a mental calculation of, I must be mindful of how much I've spent today, roughly this amount at this place, roughly that amount at that place. And yet it does add up. Now, I shared this idea with a loved one of mine, and they said, but I still feel the pain when I look at my bank account to see the dollars have dwindled. Isn't that interesting? Because, truth be told, there is a delay. There's a delay between the moment you make the purchase and the moment you look at that bank account again, even if you're getting notifications, dings, dings on your smart device letting you know, hey, this transaction has occurred. It's easy to ignore those notifications. It's easy not to register that pain. Let it be a moment. Of course, you know you just made a purchase. You just did it. And yet, the dollars do go oh so quickly. And so I wonder, is one of the richest countries in the world better off than another country struggling economically and yet without the heavy burden of debt? I mean, think about it. There are countless ways people are making money in the United States, trying to educate Americans on how to make money, how to save money, how to eliminate debt, how to get rich quick. Debt is a big business. And is there really interest in the American government by helping Americans reduce debt? After all, it's big business. I mean, if we really want to get rid of debt, maybe why not just get rid of credit cards and all of these short-term loans? That's not going to happen. I mean, I remember a young person exclaiming to me how wonderful it was that their bank would front them $200 before payday. And you might be thinking, well, the lovely Ray, isn't that kind of them? But darling, $200 before payday may seem like a generous offer, and yet the need to depend on that advance becomes evident, becomes increasingly convenient, comfortable, and so the ability to manage one's spending, manage one's money, quickly goes away. After all, why worry about budgeting, managing your money, saving, investing wisely when you can simply borrow a little in advance? I mean, isn't it interesting how so many companies now are allowing Americans to pay in installments? Buy now, make 4 easy payments later. Buy now, pay later. And if you pay quick, you won't have to pay interest. But chances are, you're not going to pay quick because there's that next purchase around the corner. Now, some people get a thrill out of avoiding the interest game, but one missed payment and suddenly you're paying a lot more for something that was originally such a good deal. But you might be saying, Ray, I don't deal with those bank scams or enticing offers. Ray, I'm not into the whole buy now, pay later. I work hard for my money, baby, and I pay up front. I am savvy with the way I use my money. I save, I invest, I earn, and I have learned to spend wisely. And to you, my love, I say bravo. I mean, you are living the American dream. And technically you're ahead of most people. And yet, honey, I'm worried for you. I am. I really am. And you want to know why? No. Hear me out. I'm not worried you're going to fall down a slippery slope and suddenly find yourself writhing in a pool of death. No, darling. I'm worried about what are you going to do when the lights go out. Yes, it's true. As the U.S. finds that more and more major cities are relying on electronic payments, which, to be fair, it is safer to receive an electronic payment for those working in industries that require transferring large amounts of cash. After all, the store manager having to do fewer cash drops at a bank, the nightlife worker who finds himself able to walk home with their head held high, not worried about getting attacked for cash they might be carrying. The server leaving the job, not stressed about being the victim of a mugging. These things, my friends, are stressors that need not come back. But when the lights go out, oh me, oh my, what do we do? You know, I was at a tourist attraction, a beautiful garden, and I was enjoying a delicious cup of tea with a friend. And during our stay, the lights went out, and the place emptied rather quickly. Now, my friend and I, we were so engrossed in our conversation, we didn't really notice anything. I mean, it was daytime. There were big windows. The sunshine poured in. We had our drinks. We were quite comfortable. But then we noticed there were fewer patrons, and the staff seemed a bit agitated. And then we noticed they had pretty much stopped processing transactions. And I thought to myself, oh, of all the money this business is currently losing. You see, you might be saying, well, Ray, a backup generator will do the trick. But baby, it is not easy for every business to have a backup generator, especially when the devices that require electricity are spread out over several different buildings. They simply need several different generators. And so the profit that business could have made during the span of hours the power was out quickly grew. I remember in New York City, there was a blackout, and it was kind of fun to walk the streets, to see people dining by candlelight, to find that there were just fewer cars on the road. People didn't want to risk injury. People were walking. People were enjoying the hot summer night. And day 2, many restaurants couldn't open. They made their business the night before the best they could, but without electricity, they weren't able to cook their meals and proceed. But the businesses that made money, those brick oven pizza chains, yes, there were a few that still had old school cash registers that required the pushing of buttons, and there were a few that didn't even bother with those old school cash registers. The employees had a box where they would put cash, make change, and they did their business. And given the past, 10 years of companies like Square pushing onto businesses the convenience, use our tablet, easily upload all of your products, all of your services, and with a tap, with a swipe, your employees can get tipped. You don't have to deal with cash. Your storefront's clean, convenient. Your customers are comfortable and happy, and all is well. Those same businesses, well, they're going to be in a world of trouble when the power goes out. And baby, it always does. There's always a power outage, even if temporary. I was talking to a friend who lives in Las Vegas, and they recounted how there was chaos in the casinos during a power outage. People simply couldn't do business. And so, it's interesting, isn't it? Because here we are in a time of amazing technology where AI is solving so many of our world problems. And yet, the reliance on convenience, well, it seems convenience today, comfort today, can be a major inconvenience later. But that's just this one lady's observation. And so, baby, what do you think? Should we all go online and handle our transactions there? Not worry about debt, not worry about electricity. These are just minor blips, minor inconveniences, not the majority. Or should we continue to hold a little caution? Well, I hope you've enjoyed a little something to think about. And my friend, thanks for stopping by. It's been lovely to chat.